I thought that we would start with these.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Can you remember the card that came up for you last time?
It's been so
I
long.
know it's
I remember talking about Murder, She Wrote, but I don't remember
you
anything
did.
else.
Da, 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 da.
Oh my gosh. So good.
I'm gonna remember. I'm gonna go back and have a look because I
Yeah,
remember it
I should
sparked a
too.
real conversation. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna shuffle and then you just tell me when to stop and I'll take the top card.
No.
Okay,
I said now instead of stop, but you got it.
got it. Now stop. Okay, so the card that's come up for you is be there for others, but never leave yourself behind.
My gosh. My gosh. I love that. It feels very fitting for all the things that I feel like we're going to talk about today. So, yeah.
How have you been since we last chatted? Because it has been a little while.
Yeah.
What's going on for you at the minute?
Well, I feel like there's before everything last year, and then there's like the last year of my life. And I feel like two separate things. So I can't quite remember where I was at when we last talked. Again, I should listen to our conversation again. Um,
I will put a link in the show notes.
Thank you. That'll help me. But the last year of my life, I basically, January of 2025, I put a pause in a lot of my business stuff and just focused on the clients and projects I had currently work going on. And I wasn't trying to do anything else with it. And I just kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say like another like midlife crisis or, quarter life crisis or something, but it was just kind of like, I was kind of like just done with a lot of things and I just needed to make some pivots. And I think I'd been like ignoring a lot of that internal, like kind of had left myself a little bit maybe, like that card was
Mm.
suggesting. And then what came out of it was writing the book that I just sent off to the editors again yesterday. So like it's
It's
literally
very
been a year
exciting.
of just writing and being open to creativity. And like I feel like in saying yes to that had opened this door to like another door, lots of doors to other ways of being creative and expression and coming back to self. So like it was just um I feel like there's a lot of things in the works right now, but not like it's hard to give a report on it. And I also started working for a nonprofit in the last year. And so Montana Thespians,
Okay.
if you're familiar, which I think you are with thespians.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I help run that for, yeah, I'm on the board for that. So
Nice.
that's been fun.
Fantastic. That sounds really good fun. There is so much that's happened. And I think as a creative, it's difficult to sort of compartmentalize things because so many times the projects overlap, don't they? And you're not quite sure how you've ended up somewhere, but you've taken that road less traveled and you've followed your nose and you've stayed open to opportunity and said yes
Yeah,
to things, which means that it almost snowballs. Like there's such momentum, I think, when
exactly.
you are being open-minded and open-hearted. And I was wondering, first of all, should we start with the book? It's called Choose You.
Yes.
Okay. So where did that title come from? And can you give us kind of like an overview of what's going to be in there so we can get our pre-orders ready because pre-orders are going to come up this in April, right?
Yeah. Yeah. April.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the title kind of has multiple meanings. So it is about coming back to self and choosing that relationship with yourself. But I also like to think of YOU as your own unfolding. So it's also saying yes to participate, like being a participant in your journey and what that looks like and helping shape that. This book particularly is more focused on the coming back to self part rather than the, you know, action or journey aspect of it and more about developing that relationship with yourself. So I believe the genre it fits into is reflective nonfiction, and it's going to be a shorter book. It's not a heavy hitter. And I think they would call it like a niche guide. So there might be a part two in the future that kind of covers that other side of I feel like growth. To me, growth, and I think this is represented a lot in a lot of nature themes. But I use the metaphor of trees throughout the book, and that's kind of like a thing that it kind of anchors in throughout trees particularly, but I think it makes sense for us as people. When it comes to growth, it's stability, but also it's expansion and stability. And it's in a cycle in relationship to itself. And that's how you have sustainable growth is that it's actually stabilized expansion.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of books and resources about that expansion and how to expand, but there's not always a lot about like, okay, now that I've expanded, how to come back to like stability within that expansion.
Mm,
Or I want to expand, but I don't feel ready. And I don't know how to like do that in a way that feels good. This book is more about the stability side of growth. So there might be like a part two that then makes it kind of maybe a bigger book, but or a, more complete that full circle. And
yeah.
there's reflections and practices in it that you can then take the ideas and integrate and use and experiment and play and explore with your own life rather than just taking my word for it or my experience for it, you know.
Yeah. And I love trees anyway.
Me too.
I totally get it, that kind of rootedness,
Hmm.
that groundedness and feeling safe, like that safety to be stabilized. And then the kind of the expansion and you're right. I mean, we can only really, become enlightened or however you want to describe it, that expansion when you feel connected to self. And if you think back to our last conversation, you talked about a transformative trip to Egypt, which was about coming back to self. You talked a lot about your sort of foundation training in theatre and
Yeah.
how that's sort of really grounded you, actually. And your ability to sort of bring people together and really focus in on collaborations. And I was wondering if you could like maybe unpick some of the moments where you felt really stable in some of those things and where you've really expanded because of that.
I feel like it's easier to talk about the work side of things, like the entrepreneurship and what I
Yeah.
was working on at the time and through that. I think in Egypt as well. That trip and my work and starting your own business and doing all that stuff. Like it wasn't my first time doing any of that, but I had done it in a new way that felt so expanded and
Yeah.
like so like pushing myself and putting myself out there and doing, podcasts and things like that, where it was just not what I'd been doing. I had been doing that for a few years before I took a pause in the business. And I actually think I wasn't very as stable as I thought I was or as connected. I think I had been focusing on the expansion so much that I forgot how to stabilize. I think that's a lot of where this book kind of came from
Mm,
is that realization and coming back to those roots and things before all the expansion and before Egypt, and even before theater, really, like, or the parts of theater that I, had either denied myself or had avoided because I didn't feel stable or capable. So I actually feel like it's coming back to like the whole journey's been really coming, like learning how to come back to my core self, not just that I'm okay here in this setting. It's like, wait, who am I? Like, what is the essence of me that's underneath
mm.
stories or feelings or beliefs about myself or what happens in my life. And I think I'd gotten too caught up in again the other side of growth that I had to figure out how to come back to the other.
And I think so often we focus in on, we talked about it as well, that hustle culture about always reaching for the next best thing, always
Yeah.
wanting to do more. We move the goalposts for ourselves so often, don't we, without
Yeah.
really acknowledging what we have achieved, where we have grown
Yeah.
and the lessons, the challenges that we've faced and how we've overcome them. So
Have
I
you read my
really
book
hear that.
already? Did I send you a copy? Because I feel like
I would love to read a copy of it.
well, I'll send you a advance copy once I let me get through the
I would
next round of
love that.
editing, but like so it's
Yes,
not
I would love that.
yeah.
No, but I think like when we first met, I instantly felt a connection with you.
Yeah, me too.
And we, obviously, for those people who are listening, I have kept in contact sporadically over the 2 years, but, we've kind of been wandering the wilderness, kind of in each other's orbits, we're checking in on each other. And now it feels like we're kind of, again, coming back together and, we're on our own journey, but so much of it feels very
Connected.
familiar
Yeah.
and connected. Yeah, which is why I really wanted to get you on the podcast again, because what I find so inspiring about you and your work, and if you haven't yet, you need to go and check out Kay's website, because the website is like, it's evolving. It's an evolving space. And I just love the vulnerability that you're bringing to it, Kay.
Thank you. I just got goosebumps. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's been like what this last year has been about is the unknown and not being or the wilderness as you like to describe it, that
Yeah.
it's that we really can't know the future and like we can have hopes and dreams and pursue things, but as far as how it plays out, like there's only so much we can. I mean, I'm a big believer we have a lot of power in what occurs around us and how it feels and choices that we get to make and how we respond. But as far as what things look like, it's rarely how we think. And I'm just feel like so much of my life was about changing who I am or performing in a certain way or showing up in a certain way and had to keep it together or have it all figured out. And part of it was like just my own anxiety of like, I have to have the answer, I have to know. Like it was hard to exist in that liminal space. And I've just leaned in fully the last year and I really have no clue what's next for me. I have some things in the works, but like you said, that website is like, there's very little on it right now. But hopefully when someone hears this, they'll be more evolved in there. But I've been kind of in a standstill because of the book to like be able to look at and create and post other things or and play as much as I want to.
Mm,
It got kind of overwhelming with the deadlines and
yeah.
also, we had our thespian festival, our statewide thespian festival in February. So I've been kind of going nonstop since end of December.
Mm,
So sending off that draft yesterday was like, I'm free. Like, and I purposely planned this podcast to be like, I'm done. We're good. Like, I don't have to be stressed about anything. So
yeah.
yeah, I think thank you for speaking to that vulnerability that I feel
Okay.
like I have been embracing. And it's less scary now. And I feel like it's
Mm,
okay to just to be in it. And I think that's again that coming back to self is the only reason why it's been possible to not
yeah.
know. So
So you handed in what draft was this? The second?
my gosh, I
First or
did like
second draft?
I actually like rewrote the book like 3 or 4 times. It just wasn't right.
No,
It
and this
wasn't
is it.
right.
It has to be right. It has to be right. So, whatever version it was, you handed it in yesterday,
Yes. The final
and
version, but it just
yeah,
it's now to the nitpicky, line choices, word choices, and making sure
yeah.
that that lands. And then we'll go into, the grammar and formatting and
Mm,
illustrations and cover and all that. So,
wow. So, have you got some of those people already lined up then, in terms of the illustrator or
yeah,
the people who are going to be doing that work back, like behind the
yeah.
scenes?
I've been working with editorial company called Golden Editorial, and so they've been doing all the developmental edits, the line edits that I just said out yesterday. They're going to do the 2 rounds of proofreading. And they're going to be doing the formatting, which is super helpful because I'm just like, "Oh, one less thing I have to teach myself while I'm self publishing." And they've been amazing to work with. And then I have a friend who's an artist. And when I knew kind of the feeling that I wanted for the book and to kind of create space within the book
Yeah.
and that's what the illustrations are serving or the goal of them is that they kind of create that breathing space, that white space, just
Mm,
kind of be and
mm,
not try to rush through it. And again, the reading itself is short, so it's or shorter. And so
mm.
I want it to feel like an experience or like something that you come back to potentially if it's helpful. And she's helping design the cover. Between the two of us, we'll work on executing it together and making it make sense as a book cover. But she's going to be doing the sketches and everything inside.
It sounds incredible, and I can't wait to have a
Thank
copy,
you.
to be honest, because I can't imagine how much work and effort and time it takes to bring something like this together. It sounds, I mean, are there kind of parts of the book where we can write notes, or is it just at the back or throughout? Is it, got some poetry in there, I'm imagining, or some like words of wisdom, that we can kind of come back to? This is what I'm imagining. I don't know if this is the case.
I think the pictures kind of will help the poetry aspect or the
Yes.
feeling of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the end of each chapter, there are reflection questions. So there's not places to write, but there are reflection questions
Mm,
just to kind of see where you're at and how you feel about stuff. And it's about self discovery. It's not about self improvement. It's about self discovery. And so I hope those questions help spur other thoughts and
mm,
realizations. I don't think the questions are end all be all by any means. They're a starting point. Everything, I feel like the whole book is a starting point and or a reconnection point. It's not a crutch or anything that it's not there's no formula or anything like that. It's really
mm,
you with you through, and I'm offering some lenses to maybe look at something. And then after the reflection questions in the same spot in the book, there are specific practices and the things that I use to this day to maintain and deepen the relationship with myself. And so I hope that, again, that they're a jumping off point for people to experiment and explore and find other things that work for them. In addition to a lot of, whatever resources they're interested in, whether that's like more spiritual healing or mindset work or goal setting or, whatever they
yeah,
resonate with. I've tried to keep the language and everything very broad, specific, but as far as the feeling or like language of the book, it's very generic in the way of I wanted just whoever to enjoy it. And
yeah,
it's not very like spiritual or super healing or, any of
mm,
those kind of things. It's more everyday language.
yeah. And I think what I'm hearing is that it's meeting people where they are in
That's the
that
hope.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And talk me through the creative process that you've been through. Like, how often have you been writing on a day to day? Do you get up at 5? Are you like working? Because I know you're busy with the charity as well. So like,
Yeah.
what's your kind of like, what's your process been like?
Yeah. I started writing like April, May, probably more like May. I was thinking ideas and getting notes down, I think at first it was a lot of anytime I had an idea, I just write it down and like, oh, this is an important thing. In kind of getting it all out, I realized it took a long time and why it took 3 versions of the book to realize that there was more than one book there or more than one subject, if that
Mm,
makes sense. So it's not that maybe
yeah,
there's a whole other book, but it's just there's things that don't belong in this
in
particular
this
thing.
one.
And it's really hard to not want to share everything. It's not that I'm again withholding information. It's just that it's not fully developed or I haven't finished it or it's not hasn't landed yet. As far as the actual creative process though, what you actually asked about, it was
I love it.
it was, I can make my own schedule. And so I think I
Yeah,
tried to spend as many, like 3 or 4 days a week, either in a coffee shop or at home, just like getting it out and mapping it out. I think I had to explore between, they call it like a pantser, what's the other one? I don't know. In writing, you can either be like kind of sporadic and like, just write as it comes kind of thing.
yeah,
And then there's also a plotter. That's what it is, plotter, a pantser, and I had to be a mix of both, and so I think that also played into the creative process,
yeah,
where there were some days where I was like, "I can't move forward because I don't understand the outline. I don't know where we're going
yeah,
or, like, how to get there, so I can't just write." And so then it would go back to, like, the drawing board, and then there would be some weeks where I was, like, just all over the place, like, "Oh, let me write a section about this, let me write this," and
yeah,
kind of it was kinda going off, how I felt, but not when I had feelings of procrastination or getting stuck, I had to, like, still show up and, like, look at that, even if that meant not
yeah.
writing, but I still had to, like, work through that. So, in a very practical sense, I don't start most things until at least 10 as far as formal work. Uh, and I think there's also a cap for my brain. I can only do so many hours of, like, critical thinking. I think our brains are
Yeah.
actually programmed to do, like, 4 hours or something. So I would always
Mm,
kinda remember that too, that, like, if it's been,
yeah.
like, 4 hours, I might just be running around in circles or have to redo what I did, if I push too hard.
Mm. It sounds to me like this is something that I'm trying to learn. You said something like you had so many notes, you've got so many things that actually it could be more than one book. It could potentially be more than that.
Yeah.
But the idea or those ideas haven't landed yet. And so that made me think actually what we're practicing here is patience and the importance of letting your creativity flow, however that is, rather than kind of like trying to push. Because I don't know about you, or I don't know about people who are listening, but for me, like certainly toward like, at the end of last year, I had so many ideas that I just wanted to share all of them. Like, this is what I'm
Yeah.
doing. I'm doing this. I'm doing merchandise. I'm doing this. And I just, and I do have those things still sort of
Mhm.
ticking away in the background. But I realized that actually the internet doesn't need to know everything,
Yeah.
like all the time,
Yeah.
because I don't know what those things look like. And it's only now, like some things need to be in place before the next idea starts to bubble away and
Yeah.
kind of percolate a little bit.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me, I'm just thinking of, your website with exploring the space where that creativity and change meet and this gentle growth. Gentle is kind of nurturing, it's patient, it's kind, it's fulfilling, it's, all of those yummy adjectives that you think, oh yeah, I just want to be in this little flow, this
Yeah.
moment. Did you does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. What was so hard was because I opened the door and said yes to this idea and this vision to like basically put everything else off to the side, write
Mm,
it down or feel and get excited about things or explore a little bit like in my free time outside of, working hours, so to
mm,
speak, to I started a notebook full of ideas and thoughts and things I want to try. And I let the excitement of those help fuel I to get like done with what I was doing,
yeah,
but I haven't pursued them fully yet. I actually made before the call, I was like making all these lists of like organizing like all the different
yeah,
things I've kind of built up and want to play with and what that looks like. And I feel like one phrase that helped me get through a lot of like either getting stuck or wanting to push through or wanting to like start the new project but not quite having what I needed was just
mm,
or not knowing those pieces yet was I always have what I need when I need it. And so it's like if I just that's my own like little one of my little affirmations I use and it helps keep that I guess the anxious energy, like separate from the excited energy of, oh, I have this idea and I'm really excited and I can't wait to pursue that without this like, oh, I need to like do it now or figure it out. And if it's not flowing,
yeah,
then I can go, okay, this isn't a right now thing, but it's in the notebook. It'll happen. And I'm also going
mm,
to play with working and focusing on one project a month and see where that leads. And as a creative or someone that likes creative things, that doesn't mean it's an outward facing project. But there's so many things I want to try and I want to do or get better at. And I think it's hard when you have an expectation or a specific, like, I will call out, like, writing a book is not easy. And, like, if you're wanting to pursue
yeah,
writing, like, that's not necessarily the first step. I wouldn't necessarily go that route again. It had to be this way for a reason for me, but that's like a very like
yeah,
personal thing. And because of writing this book, I now really want to work on my writing craft. This book wasn't really about the writing for me; it was about the content. I didn't want it to
yes.
suck or sound bad.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But, like, I know that my writing could improve, and so that's also another thing with, like, having creative thoughts, it's like or ideas, it's, like, also meeting where your capabilities are and treating it more
Yeah.
like a project or an experiment rather than, "This is the book that changes everyone's life." Like, that's not what this book is, like,
Mm,
or even my life, right? Like, it's changed me for sure, like, internally, but it
yeah,
not putting it on this pedestal of perfection or the end all be all of, just creating something to create is, important.
is enough. It is enough. And I'm going to come back to something that you said earlier, because I'm, by the way, when I'm looking down here, the people listening won't know what I'm talking about, but obviously I'm looking down, I'm making notes. But you said, that the book is about self-discovery, not self-improvement. And that is really, really powerful, actually. When you really think about that, we have so many expectations placed upon us or, narratives that we keep spinning about ourselves and our worth and being attached to what we produce, what we, output. But, this is about self-discovery and you being enough as you are and your creativity being enough as it is.
Right. No, exactly. Again, have you read my book? It sounds like you already got a copy. No, No, it's exactly I mean, you're picking up on that exactly. I mean, the question that really I feel like anchors the book is that or the idea is that we don't have to change in order to grow. We can just have a deeper relationship with ourselves and that growth naturally will be there. Like we can
Mm,
just grow more of who we already are, which is who we are at our core underneath our past, our stories, what we believe, what happens. I think we're
mm,
all individual that way, but we're also all connected. And the more that you know who you are on that deeper level, then you get to grow from that and just in that
yeah,
connection. Because when you know who you are, you can respond to change happening outside of you in a way that's,
yeah.
true and, what's right for you. So,
Mm.
yeah, my whole thing is that you don't have to change who you are. You should just be more of who you are.
More of who you are. Yeah, exactly. And what are you obviously you're working very hard at the moment. What are you doing to for downtime? How are you sort of just refueling your energy because it's when you're working on something it can drain you.
Yeah, I think honestly leaning into other creative things, like just creating to create and not produce, like drawing really and drawing and like dancing or movement and those things really help turn off my thinking brain where it's giving that kind of reset. But honestly, my favorite thing to do is I have literally a tree that I go and hang out at. I like
Do
it's
you?
near my house. I have to drive there, but like it's near my house and I put out like a little blanket and hang out with the tree. That's just like my like little zen moment.
Yeah.
I call it my tree. It's not really mine, of course, but I call it tree time. And so I'll tell my husband, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go have some tree time. I'm gonna go." So I just go
Yeah.
sit there and it's kind of hidden, but it's easy to access. And so I kind of have this like
Mm.
little private space, but that's probably my favorite way to recharge right now is just to go sit at the tree and sometimes I write or I draw, but it's really just to like turn it all off for a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's what I've been doing to like help balance.
It's true. It's because we before we pressed record, we were talking about balance, like how do we find balance? And keep going back to this quote from Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Pray Love. And it's when she's talking to her guru and she says that she'd lost her balance. You know, she'd met Felipe and they'd fallen in love. And he says to her, "You must lose balance in order to live a balanced life." And that I love that line because I think for so many of us, we think, "Oh, we've got to have it all together. We've got to be balanced. We've got to look
Yeah.
as though we've got everything together." And obviously, when you look at Instagram, it's awash with people who have made it, who have,
It's the
they've done the
highlights.
work and it's the
Yeah.
highlights, the highlight reel. And whether we like it or not, of course, we still compare ourselves. It's human nature to compare ourselves to things like that. But you made the decision to come off Instagram, didn't you? I
Yeah.
think, was it maybe last year?
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
I don't remember when. I think it was probably about a year ago now, and it was really
Mm,
helpful for me, and that comparing kinda became less or the not having the answers. I think also just, like, anytime I can get off my phone and, a screen, just in general, because you can kinda lose yourself in,
yeah.
TV or, like YouTube videos or whatever. You can kinda get zoned in and too zoomed
Yeah.
in and kind of forget to be in your body and you become like a head or eyes just seeking rather than it, like feeling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got up there. I was still on
Mm,
TikTok for a while just for like personal reasons for the most part. Like that I preferred that
yeah.
app for the time. I mean, a lot of things have changed in that for that app in my country. I actually have the last couple months took off TikTok off my phone. I haven't just like gotten rid of it, but it's not on my phone. And it really does make a
Mm,
difference to like be able to check in on it if I want, but I just not having it downloaded. I'm spending less time on my phone or the things I am doing on my phone are things that like actually bring me joy, like a silly like
yeah.
hidden object game or something or a puzzle or like or whatever. Like if I'm doing something, it's like something little or silly like that. It's not this all consuming. But it's hard
Mm,
to find that like I mean a lot of people use those platforms for their businesses or to connect with people
yeah.
and so I've been in this liminal space and able to take a step back, but I'm having to evaluate where I'm putting my time and energy. If I do continue to do some online business work,
Mm,
what that really looks like, or even just sharing creative projects and what platforms make sense and feel good that I don't feel like I have to show up every day for because that's just not me. So I'm trying to explore those different things and see
yeah,
what comes of it. But taking, I mean, that comparison thing, it's like that's something to consider when it comes to like going back to something. I don't think I'll go back to
yeah.
Instagram, but
No. But I suppose with the website, you're kind of creating your own home, aren't you? So you have the control over what you share, when you share it,
yeah.
the traffic and all of that sort of stuff. So I think if there are creatives out there who are thinking, social media doesn't seem to fit in with what I'm doing now, maybe just take a step back and reevaluate it,
Yeah.
really look at how you're using it and why. I think that's the key thing because for me, I just found the pressure of posting
Mhm.
every day just, yeah, so time consuming, especially when you're working as well,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you end up filming yourself eating your breakfast and you think, what am I doing? Like,
Right.
just so I can put something on the reels and, put a story on and you end up sort of living, yeah, just living through your phone. It's a very strange thing we've created.
It is. And unfortunately, it's been like the crutch for a lot of people to be able to do what they want to do, like to have a business. And so they're having to become content creators instead of working on their craft. And they're trying to grow a following instead of their skills. It's been kind of backwards for a lot
Yes.
of people. And I think it needs to go back to focus. I don't know. At least that's my process. I hide for a year and then I come back out, like, and then share with the world.
No, that makes loads of sense. You're right. It's people are bothered about building an audience rather than a community. I remember, I think it was Kendall Brittman who said that from Riverside.
Yeah.
But, it's so true what you said. We're creating content rather than focusing on our craft. I like that. That's really struck a chord with me.
Yeah. And it's hard.
So it is hard. What are you planning on doing then in the next few months? Obviously, we're going to have a little chat off mic when I switch the recording off about the Lost and Found workshops. But have you got any workshops that are kind of lined up or kind of ideas that are going around at the moment?
I have some ideas like percolating. I don't know if I can like fully talk about them, but they are more about facilitating and creating
Hmm.
space for specific things. So think a workshop. That's like workshops, but I have some different things that I actually am getting so excited about because it feels like it's building like all the things that I
Yeah.
care about and that I've been focusing on internally. I feel like I'm creating a way to then not necessarily help others, but just creating a space for others to also do that because
Yeah.
I was able to do a workshop in January with the networking group that I'm a part of here locally, and we talked about self permission, and that was like a really fun thing. So I feel like it's just I really want to get back to building community or just being connected in community. So I want to that's kind of the shift of my focus, and then I want to expand and so I really just want to play. I feel like I'm now like I've done this really hard work for hardest thing I've ever done for the last year that
Mm.
I've just it's like now it just feels like "Oh, let's just have fun,
It's just
you
have
know?
fun.
Yeah, so that's kind of where
Yeah.
I'm at and I have a lot of ideas and but it's not from a place of productivity or trying to even like make money at this point. Like yes, that would be helpful. And I don't know what that looks like
Mm.
for me moving forward. I was able to take a step back for a while, but like now
Yeah.
it's like I need to we're still in a world that's in transition where we still have to
Yeah.
pay bills. I mean, there's hope. I just recently started the basic income for art and I feel like I'm like, oh, more of that. So I'm like holding out for more change and progress like that in our society where creativity gets to be seen as valid, and important to our culture and community and connection and joy.